Okay, welcome to X2, our Athlean Retro Rep training phase. Now, very quickly you're going to see, this ain't Athlean X1, guys. Things are going to change here. It's time to change up traditional training, and we're going to start by changing up the traditional way that you perform reps. We call it retro rep training. We've called it backwards rep training. The whole idea here is to increase the amount of tension that we have on our muscles at all times during the workouts. We want to have constant tension, and there's a real simple but overlooked way that we can do that and really increase the effectiveness of a workout. And that's the main goal here of this phase. Now, the first thing you're probably going to notice as you're scanning through your workouts are, we're doing split muscle group training here in Athlean X. It finally arrives, and for good reason. Because when you start training like this, it's a bit more intense. We want to focus our efforts a little bit on one or two muscle groups that like to work together, because we're never going to abandon the concepts that we have with Athlean X1, which is ground-based training, muscle interaction, muscles training together that like and prefer to work together. And we're going to do that here as well, but because this type of training starts to get so intense, we want to make sure that we're doing it in a way that we can focus our efforts and still have you out of that gym in that time that we always say, 30 to 40 minutes, so that you can get back and recover. So now, let me explain a little bit about what backwards reps are, demonstrate a couple examples to you, and why they're so effective. Basically, when we're doing a traditional rep, if you look at, let's say, a side lateral, if we have a side lateral raise for our shoulders, if you bring your dumbbells out to the side, we all know that peak tension occurs up here at the top of the movement. How do you know? Because you really can't, hold that weight up there too long, but we could all stand here for probably an hour holding dumbbells at our sides. There's nothing going on in the muscle that would effectively help that get bigger or stronger, except for that point that you're up here. So if we look at how we do a lateral raise, it's always up and then back down, right, to the top and then back down. The only part of that exercise where you're working at all is obviously getting the weight up to the top, but then the hold at the top. You should always be sort of establishing that position at the top. But then as you come down, we always talk about nice slow negatives to be sure that you're working the muscle eccentrically. But what if we did alternating reps? And we did them in a way where you don't start down at the bottom, but you start up at the top. Now watch what happens. If we actually start here, and I drop one down and then come back up. Now when the left side is going to work, I drop one down and I come back up. The muscles are constantly firing, so even when I'm working on this right side technically, this one's still working in that peak tension position. So we basically have taken it, we've doubled the time under tension on every set, which means we can sort of double the effect that that muscle is getting in the same period of time that we're working that set. Right? It's still straight sets, it's still taken to failure, all that stuff stays the same from Athlean X1. But again, this little tweak. So you're going to see a lot of alternating type movements in here. Even if we look at bicep curls, again, we can stand here all day with biceps, with our biceps extended, the weight's down in front of us. But when we come up to the top, there's peak tension. Now we don't want to go all the way up here because obviously you start to lose it again. But the top of a bicep curl right here would be peak tension, right in the middle actually. But somewhat up in here would be, definitely a lot of force that you have to, be able to produce to hold it here. If we start here and we drop one down, again, as I'm quote-unquote working this right side, I'm obviously working the left side too. And even with shoulder presses, again, one more example, if I'm in here and I put my arms up, this is the hard part, and getting the hold up there is hard. Well, we're going to start there. So our shoulder presses don't come from here and go back and forth there. They actually start up here, and I drop one down, and I drop one down. So you'll see that through all the workouts in this week. And again, as I mentioned, you'll see the split muscle group training. So chest and triceps working together. Later on in the week, shoulders and rotator cuff. You'll have your leg training. You'll have your back and biceps working together. So different feel to these workouts for sure. And even when you see exercises you might recognize, which doesn't happen all too often here in Athlean X, but when you do, like a side lateral, you're going to be performing it much differently because of this new concept that we're instituting here. And then finally, the pace is quick. You're going to want to keep that workout moving along, 45 seconds between. If you can recover even quicker, then hit that second set, right after you feel like you're ready to go. We want to keep this tension on the muscles always to keep that effect up. So this is retro rep training. This is the first week, technically, of Athlean Extreme. This is where it all starts. I warned you it would be tough, but I know that by the time you're done with this, you are going to be in a whole new position, a whole new body, in a whole new level of athleticism, because we're going to basically progress you now from this X2 all the way to X12 and get you into a completely different, we call it a supreme athlete. That's our end goal here. So I want to make you feel like an athlete and look like an athlete all in the next 10 to 12 weeks.